a lightning back here again with finally another sketchbook bookbinding video thingy. And in this one we are doing a 4-ish sized. And the reason why I'm saying A4-ish is I'm actually working on A2 paper right now, which is like what, quadruple the size of A4. Yeah. And the reason why is because I don't have any A3 in the correct size. So right now we're just taking all the freaking A2 paper and folding it into A3 size. And as you can see, the lighting did change to being very reddish, and that's because we got later in the evening and my camera was not super happy. And here we are back again when there's more light. And the reason why this happens is because I don't have super much light in my apartment yet. I probably should get just one more light installed. But yeah, I mean, it works so far, so good. How do we actually turn this into A4 paper? Well, I'm taking my little scalpel, X-Acto knife, sharp knife thingy-majig, and just cutting along the crease. That's why I spend so much time on making sure the crease were nice and sharp, because the sharper the crease we can get right now, the better. However, it will leave some leftover marks from the knife, so we will have to take care of that. But for now we're just taking every single A2 we folded and cutting along. Having folded all the A3 pieces, A2 pieces and cut them, I am now folding them into A4 pieces. And you can see I'm working on the cut edge, and that is because the cut I'm making is not, perfect in the crease. So some of them will have part of the crease in it. So I'm currently smoothing it out, just trying to make it look just a little bit better. And yeah, I guess that's the problem when you don't have a guillotine or anything, guillotine job or something like that to actually resize the paper. But hey, as we'll see later on, we get a kind of a solution going. But yeah, I mean, I kind of enjoy just folding the paper. It's kind of meditative. The only thing is it takes forever making sure you're kind of hitting the corners correctly. And yeah, then the annoying part is of course using the bone folding knife like this. But for not having the correct paper, I think this was a perfectly good solution for it. Moving on, I then decide to, I have printed this tool that helps me lay out where my holes are. But I kind of have to optimize at some point, because currently what I have to do is with a ballpoint pen draw on it to mark where I want my holes, and then mark it like that, as you can see. I mean, at least it's easy visible. Now for actually making holes, I am currently transferring my markings to the paper, and so the holes are not completely arbitrary. Well, some of them are, but the two, like the top and bottom hole, is roughly 1.5 to 2 centimeters in, and that is just to ensure strength. And comes to making holes in the paper, there are generally speaking two methods. There is using an awl to punch it through, which creates a small circular hole. Usually you see like people use a cradle or something like that to ensure the marking, instead of having markings like I have. But I prefer using a hammer and a hole punch. And the reason for that is that my holes are always going to be the same size and same shape. And by just making the hole slightly oblong, it's going to be easier to sew. However, it is also a slower and more noisy method, since I am hammering. Sorry to my neighbors about that, but I think the result is better for me. So all in all, I would say that is definitely worth it. Picking a bit ahead here, we are now looking at sewing all the pieces together, and I am using a standard Coptic stitch, I do recall it being called. And as you can, the reason I skipped ahead for when I actually have done some sewing is because, as you can see, there are so many papers and so much thread, it takes forever. But really it's just sewing back and forth. And I use these blue pieces of cloth. I don't know what they're called. Like ribbons, I guess. And I just used them to strengthen the spine a little and making sure the papers stay together. Like, that's literally all they're for. You don't technically need it, but I like the extra strength it gives. And yeah, I have so much of the white stuff and of the white ones, and I don't really use them because I only use this slim ones for bookmarks. So yeah, might as well use them for something, and it looks good when sewing, right? I think so, at least. Making the backing boards for the cover itself for the pages, I use 2mm thick cardboard, stiff cardboard. And I'm just marking here like how big the pages are, and I'm doing the exact sizing here, which, as you'll see in a second when I'm like drawing it up, I am adding a couple of centimeters more. And the reason for that is I want the pages to be nestled in nicely. Well, now I'm just drawing the outline, and there we go. But yeah, I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. By not that many centimeters, like 2 or 3 centimeters, just enough so, you know, the pages will be protected and the book doesn't stand on the papers but stands on the cover. Here we are with what we thought about, well, you know, the edges not lining up perfectly. As you can see, I have this orange line marked out. I'm not quite following, I'm making the pages slightly smaller than that. So this is a book plow inspired method, because at work we technically have a paper guillotine, and I thought I could use that, and that's why the orange markings are there. So I could just take the entire text block and go chop in one go. Sadly, the opening where the paper like lays and gets locked in position is not big enough for the entire text block. And also couldn't remove it, so instead I had to improvise. And so I just took 2 wooden boards, like some 2x4 I think it is, and some clamps, and then I just clamped it in place, and now I'm just taking a knife and just running it along. It's not perfect, but it definitely works. It gets most of it done, and I do it for all 3 sides. And yeah, as you can see, like, as I'm getting further and further in, it gets easier and easier to remove them. The only thing is, of course, by doing it the way I'm doing here, where I am making the blade being angled, I of course isn't keeping a perfectly straight cut, as is kind of obvious when you look at the small pieces. But I think given the situation, given the equipment I have, this is perfect. I mean, you can tell if you look. Like, it's not perfect, but given I had already sewn the papers before realizing I couldn't trim them to size, I think it worked out pretty well. And I ended up using a here you can see the result, and I ended up using some pieces of sandpaper to just burnish down the edges so it looks all nice, and I think I got away with it relatively well. Now it starts to the fun part. We're actually working on the cover here. We are marking where on the entire height where the book will be cut from, and this is 0.5 millimeter to 1 millimeter thick goatskin that I actually bought when I was visiting Crete with my girlfriend and her siblings. So nice leather. It's so soft and shiny and beautiful, and it just, I'm so excited to see my girlfriend start using the sketchbook. So yeah, the problem is it is goatskin, so it's not like cowhide where it's like a huge piece. This is a full hide, and it's just like can't do that many A4 sketchbooks. I am again, like I talked about with the backing boards, I am giving a couple of centimeters more. I do believe this is 2 or 3 centimeters I give extra, and that is to wrap so I can wrap the leather around the boards to keep it in place. Because if it's exactly the same size as the boards, you will be able to see the boards when you've attached the cover, and we want to fold it around, as we'll see later on. So yeah, that's really all I'm doing on the full leather, and we should do a cut right about now. perfect timing. So we're skipping cut ahead because I already cut the entire leather out, and I've drawn a central circle, which is where the detail is gonna be. And how I drew this circle, I can honest to God not remember. I tried so many things, but I don't remember how I did it. I did not use a compass because I couldn't find it. And here I am kind of hand cutting it out. And after cutting it out, I learned my local library has a makerspace with a laser cutter that is open for the public. So for future project where I have to cut like shapes into the leather like this, I will definitely be using that instead of this, because the circle is not perfect. It's kind of jagged, but I mean, it's still beautiful. I still think it's gonna look awesome once you get to it. So let's just make a little cut here for when the circle has been cut out. To give the whole a little bit of personality, I am all the way around it making a sewing, like a stitched line around, double stitched, and I am gonna do that with completely black thread, so it looks exactly like the what's it called, the leather. And my reasoning for that is I think it's gonna add some interesting detail without taking away from what's gonna be in the center of the circle. And how I marked these holes is I just had I had this tool that where you can set a spacer basically, and then I just set it to the distance I wanted from the edge of the hole to the sewing, and then I just ran it around, making a tiny crease on the inside of the leather. And here I am, and we're gonna not see too much of the actual sewing because first and foremost, as you can see, it's a huge amount of thread because I'm trying to do it all like with a standard 2 needle, I guess it's a running stitch with 2 needles. Is it? I think, no, it's a saddle stitch, sorry. Oh, trouble with keeping sharp there, camera. And also, like, it's just black on black. So let's skip on ahead till when this is done. Now let's look at the star of the show, which is this piece of paper. It is technically paper, although it looks like cloth, but it is paper. It's homemade paper I got when I was on a seminar for bookbinding by like another person there, and I think it was so like it technically was just some scrap she had left over, but I think it looks so good that I wanted to use it in a sketchbook, but I wanted it to be like the main attraction of the sketchbook. So this is what we're looking at here, is basically me trying to cover the circle, and I marked it out on the backing board because that's where we're gonna be gluing it to. But yeah, and this is why I wanted the thread around the leather to be black, because I wanted this to be in the forefront, because I honestly think this is gonna be so beautiful, and it's gonna be like make the cover look so interesting without being crowded in detail. Let's attach it to the board, and we're just gonna do that with standard gluing. There is to this paper a backside and a front side, and you can kind of see it here because the backside, the silver or gray or whatever you want to call it, is very muted, whereas on the other side is way more shiny. And I wanted the shiny part to be out because I thought that would add again some visual interest. And I decided I didn't have to spread out the the glue, because as you can see there's already way too much glue. That's bane of my existence. I use way too much glue when I glue things together, but I am trying to improve on that. And now we're just going to be attaching the backing boards to the leather, and you can see it has a bit of a wobble to it, and I try and prevent that by stacking books on top. It didn't always go super well according to plan. So, but hey, as you can see here, the leather is of course still marked, well, from when I used when I cut it. And these markings here are awesome, like, because now it's so easy for me to make sure the backing boards are placed correctly. And see, Benomax probably didn't need that, but I added some more glue, so making sure it plays correctly. There we go. Now for the book to keep its shape, I am then going to take the textbook and place it in, and as you can see it's slightly too small. Then I'm going to close the book basically, and then we're just going to cover it with some heavy books. Now we're onward to the final part of like the leather cover, which is attaching it to the side. And you can see there, because I forgot to start the camera, basically the corners, I just cut them so that when we fold it in, the leather should not fold over itself. And I'm using my bone folding tool here to help me shape and remove creases and just make it nice and tight. And this is where this leather is so nice to work with. It just folds in, and I never had that experience before, but as you can see, the leather stays folded, and that felt so good working with. That's just, I always have to use clamps or whatever, and it leaves marks, and no, here it's just, the leather stays folded, but it's still like, I'm still able to work with it and move it around. And this is where I was really worried, like how good will it be? And because this is a huge long stretch, so let's see how that goes. Folding it in. As you can see, it struggles a little bit. I'm using my hands mainly because I'm not that good with a bone folding knife, removing all the excess stuff, but I hate having glue on my fingers. I'm using the bone folding tool there in the middle to really like thin out where there's no backing boards to help the book better open and close. What you could have done is also like remove a little of the inside edge. Now we get to the final stretch here, and I'm so excited. I haven't done the video as of doing this. I haven't uploaded the video yet, but I have been working on making my own marble paper, and this is gonna be the first sketchbook video where that's gonna happen. And it's difficult. It's so difficult to do, but I basically made marble paper that matches the center thing here, and we're just gonna add in this parchment paper, so if the glue runs out, it doesn't close anything. Because I tried that, and let's just say it's no fun separating two pieces of paper once they're glued together, basically. So I'm making sure that I use plenty of parchment paper for this, and I'm just gonna fold in the like strengthened cloth we used for the textbook, and then I'm folding in like the cover over the book, making sure the textbook is placed exactly how I want it, and more glue. Like that's what a book is basically is. It's hopes and dreams and glue, and there's no more to it. And I mean, this is not the most interesting part of bookbinding, but to me this is like one of the most nerve-wracking parts, because you can't really do any other thing except for glue it in. And I got so worried with this because you can see the marble paper raises itself above, so I keep trying to press it down, and then I agreed with myself, might as well let it stay up and then hope that the book, once it's closed with some weight over it, will do the trick. And it did. I'm so glad for that, because I was very worried. Yeah, but it's basically like we're almost done. We're adding one more detail to the book just so it's not as, I don't know if I want to call it boring, but kinda. And this is the cover. Look at the front. And yeah, I don't know if you saw it there, but we're gonna add some corner protectors now. And I'm not gonna show you doing all 4 of them, because it's just gluing those on, pressing them in, and yeah, they didn't quite fit. So I took a pair of tongs and just opened them up a bit more, and it works perfectly. And there you go, you get a little bit of a money shot of the end paper, but we'll take a look at it in just a second, where I will stop talking. And if you like this, leave a like, comment, and if you want more, subscribe, and enjoy the book.